Welcome back to Let's Play Out of the Park Baseball 22. We're here with our Texas Rangers who are ready to take on the second half of the season. But before we do that, today is draft day, so it's time for us to draft, and we will have the 6th overall pick. Here's a look at the top 10 draft picks in the class. I would say it's probably the weakest class we've seen so far. That can be a trend with this game as time goes on. Your draft classes can get weaker. However, we're still at a point where the top players are real for the most part. They're real people. Once you get to a certain point within the sim, there's no more real players left, and so everything else is generated by the CPU. But we're still looking at real players for the most part. Here's a look at your draft so far. The first overall pick was R.J. Danton, a pitcher out of the University of South Carolina. And now it's time for us to pick. We've picked a lot of college pitching so far, and I think we're going to continue that trend with Brandon Hendricks in the first round. I just think he's the best player available. There's a shortstop I really like, but I think he's more of like a late first round or maybe early second round talent, so maybe we'll be able to come back around and get him. But yeah, I think Hendricks is the best player available, and so I think that's who I'm going to go for here. So let's go for Hendricks, and he will be our first round pick. All right, cool. We got to the second round, and the shortstop I wanted is still available. He is Carter Young out of Vanderbilt. This combination of I and avoid Ks is good. I like that he has some speed. The defense probably points more towards being a second baseman, but we'll see. But the biggest thing is high work ethic, intelligence. He's also high in leadership. So I just think this is a pretty solid player. Maybe not someone who would be like a superstar, but definitely someone who could contribute to our organization. So we're going to go with Carter Young in the second round. For my third rounder, I'm going to go with Gavin Grahovac. He's a high school catcher out of California. He just appears to be a solid player overall, and he has high work ethic. And the thing is, with a high schooler like this, you have less of a floor, but more of a ceiling in terms of beating that development with the high work ethic. So I'm going to go for him here in the third round. And yeah, we'll see who we can get in the fourth. Okay, fourth round here. I'm going to go with Tim McHugh, who is a college right fielder out of St. John's University. I like that he has, 60 home run power potential. He just looks like he could be a solid hitter in the league. And he could also play a solid right field with that 60 outfield arm. He has high work ethic. So I think he's a slam dunk. I almost picked him in the third round, but I wanted to go for Grahovac instead. So I'm glad he's still here in the fourth. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up with Joseph Adametz in the fifth round. He is a college pitcher from Liberty University. No comment there. And he is high intelligence, though. So, again, high intelligence, high work ethic, those guys have a good chance of developing compared to those with normal or especially low work ethic or intelligence. So we're going to go with him in the fifth round. Okay, I'm going to draft, maybe the next 10 or 15 rounds more, but those were my first 5 draft picks, and we're going to skip ahead to draft bonus negotiations. Okay, we're ready to do some draft signing bonus negotiations. It's pretty simple. We're just going to meet the demand on these players. And in many cases, the demand is under slot, so we're still saving money. And I think the way I'm going to do this is the first. We're here doing draft signing bonuses, and we're just going to meet the demand. And the thing is, once you get past Brandon Hendricks, who's the big money guy, everyone else is under slot, so we're at least saving some money there. And I think the way I'm going to do this is add the first 4 picks to the prospect list. So McHugh, Grahovac, Carter Young, and Brandon Hendricks, they'll join the prospect list. Adametz, I don't think so, but he could, pop off later on and then, have... with the new scouting report, he could join the list, but for now, I don't think he's going to be on the list. So we've made it to the All-Star break at 49 and 43. This actually puts us in line for that second wildcard spot, which is pretty amazing at the All-Star break. However, Leody Taveras is injured with the diagnosis pending, and depending on the outcome of this injury, we may be looking for a center fielder soon. So he's been pending for about 3 days now. I guess we'll find out over the All-Star break what that is. Anyways, here are your rosters. I'm looking here for familiar names. Blake Taylor makes the All-Star game, which is interesting because his F4 is actually negative because of his FIP. But he's made the All-Star game, which is a little bit interesting to me, just also because, he's not really doing anything different than he was doing from those first 2 years, right? So he's going to represent us at the All-Star game. Do we have any others? And Taylor Trammell. Taylor Trammell is also an All-Star, well-deserved. He's suffered some injuries, so he's only played 52 games, but he's still an All-Star because his OPS plus is over his OPS is over 1,000. His OPS plus is 167, and he's on pace for a 5 more season. So we told him to hit, and he's an All-Star. It's interesting to me that Alex Lang is also an All-Star. We traded him, if you'll remember, for McClanahan. So I would say that trade has worked out pretty well for the Rays. Let's see. We don't have any other representatives, do we? I don't think so. Okay, so it looks like Cole was supposed to start this game, but maybe he's injured. It doesn't look like he's injured, so I guess Cole will start the All-Star game, or he'll at least have, he'll at least be the number one pitcher, if that makes sense. And then who's having a monster year here? Andrew Vaughn of the White Sox is having a crazy year. Good for him. And then Trout. Trout's having a good year. The sky's blue, grass is green. National League, here you go. Not Kershaw, sorry. Dinelson Lamet starting. And but Clayton Kershaw does make the game. And looks like Acuna is the one to watch out for there. He's having a phenomenal season as well. So there are your All-Star Game rosters. And we'll just see what's going on with this Leody Taveras situation. Out 3 months. That's a real shame. So let's think here. That's going to put him out till... Yeah, that would put him out till basically middle of the playoffs. So we're going to have to figure out this center field situation. We're too competitive right now. Drew Waters could play there, but he's not quite the type of guy I'm looking for there. So I think we're going to have to work on a trade for a center fielder that we can use for the next, 3 months. And that's a bummer. So, Leody, sorry about that. This has been an injury, riddled year, but we're going to do our best to fight through it. I think I'm going to replace Taveras with Carlos Tocci, who actually came up through the Rangers system. Tocci is now in the national system where, he's basically blocked by Victor Robles, and he's ranking in AAA at the moment. He has a 353 average in AAA, 424 on base. He's similar to Taveras, although he lacks Taveras' speed, and that's kind of the biggest separator between the two. But I think I'm going to go for him. We'll use some combination of him and Drew Waters, and it's not going to take much to get him. The Nationals will take this, 26-year-old reliever named Miguel Suero. And so, we're going to take on Carlos, and hopefully he can work for us at the major league level. Since the trade deadline is only 10 days away, I'm going to do the other transaction I said I was going to do, which is to trade Sherten Apostel, hopefully for a reliever. Sherten Apostel just deserves to be in the big leagues, and I don't really have a spot for him, but I think there's plenty of teams that could definitely use his services, and he's doing really well in AAA, so I'm going to shop him for relievers. And I think the best one we're going to get is Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson is a White Sox reliever, great stuff movement, good enough control. He has a 4.02 ERA this year, which honestly, compared to, what we've gotten out of our bullpen, not too bad. I just think this is the guy we're going to go for in this deal, and Tyler Johnson is going to join our bullpen. Okay, we're here at the trade deadline, 52 and 49. Hit a little bit of a skid there where we lost 6 games in a row. Tochi, it's, he doesn't have a hit yet through 5 games, and I'm starting to think that may not have been quite the right answer. Another option for me is trading for Kiermaier, who will become a free agent this offseason. He's in the middle of a very good season with the Twins. He's a fragile player, but we wouldn't be committing too much to get him, I don't think. So in terms of who we could offer to get him from the Twins, we have some guys, and one of them is Randy Florentino. I could trade him. He's not really my first pick as far as like catchers that are down there in AAA. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for trading Florentino for Kiermaier, and we're going to put Kiermaier in the lineup. The only problem is it's just a lot of left-handed hitting outfielders. That's really the only problem, but I do think Kiermaier is better than Tochi because he's a better defender. Our skid is continuing, and I think in some ways it's just sort of regressing to the mean. We have a negative run differential by about 30 runs because our pitching has just been so poor this year in general, despite what I've tried to do to remake the pitching staff, and our defense isn't helping them too much either, which has been kind of unfortunate as well. I thought it would be better, with the return of Machado, for example, and I feel like, Tramel's a good defender, and, it's not like Brujan's bad, but there's elements of the defense that just clearly aren't working. And we have an injury to Connor Grams, who in general had been pitching pretty well for us out of the bullpen after failed attempts to use him as a starter. It's a 3-week injury, and I'm thinking about just calling up Sarantola once again. He just had a not so great start at AAA, but I do still think he could help the team. We got to look at Hess too. Hess has just been really bad at AAA, so I'm not going to call him up. What about Hearn? Hearn has been... Oh, that's Bettinger. Bettinger has been solid. And then Hearn has been pretty good too. But Hearn has been so bad whenever we called him up to the majors. I'm gonna go ahead and do Sarantola. So this is our first draftee to make the team. We're going to put him in long relief. And if we set his position to a reliever, he is a 3-star reliever. So this is a landmark moment. The first draftee that we've picked has made the majors. It's Eric Sarantola. And hopefully he can contribute out of the bullpen, at least for now. Okay, I've set up our bullpen like so for now, as well as our rotation. Bielak is back in action. I've decided to throw him into the rotation as our number 5. AJ Puck, I'm going to throw in the bullpen for now. He's been just really bad as a starter. His ERA is over 8, and he's walking 6 batters per 9. I know his BABIP's really high. I know, his F4 is still positive, but it just hasn't really worked out for him. And, Connor Grams is hurt for the next 2 to 3 weeks, so this is how we're gonna line up for now. And Strotman's due back in about a week, and Sarantola is still kicking it in AAA, and those are kind of the 2 guys I'm eyeing as maybe the next people to join the pitching staff, depending on what happens next. Okay, it is mid-August, and I think we should go ahead and do a prospect check-in. We can check in with Christopher Bernal, who is 21, still in rookie ball, having a better year than he has in years past. But yeah, I'm just not really seeing it with this guy at the moment. So I think I'm gonna remove him from the list. He was our 13th rounder in 2021, so it's not like we invested that much into him. We do have another catcher in rookie ball that it is Gavin Grahovac, who's our 3rd rounder this year. He's not hitting well. He's only played 13 games, though. And, it's tough. It's his first pro season. Kevin, well, let's do A-ball first. So in A-ball, we have Luis Angel Acuna, the most head-scratching prospect because his ratings and his potential ratings are good, and I just can't really seem to get him to perform. This is the second full year he's played A-ball, and really the third year he's played A-ball, because we started him there in 2021 before he realized that it wasn't going to work out. And again, it's not like he's hitting, very well. His OPS is about 600. So, but he does still have a lot of potential. He's 21 though. Grant Hussey was our fifth rounder in 2021. And he's doing solid, I would say, in A-ball. He's a 108 OPS plus. I'd say that's perfectly fine. He's not tearing it up. This is sad to see. So Tim McHugh, who was our fourth rounder just a couple months ago, looks like he played 3 games. I put him up in A-ball. The CPU put him in rookie ball, then I put him in A-ball, and then he's ruptured his MCL. So that ended his first pro season very prematurely. I have added Alejandro Osuna to the prospect list. He's someone that's kind of just cropped up, and he has high greed and low work ethic, which isn't great, but he's just performed well, and I decided to take control of his promotion and demotion because he was playing in rookie ball again, and it's like, okay, we get it. Let's put him in A-ball. So that's what I'm done, and he'll play down the stretch A-ball. Nicholas Perez was our third rounder in 2022. And he's not taking too well to A-ball. It's a tough transition. Carter Young was our second rounder in like this past summer, so just a couple months ago, and he's not doing great. He does have positive WAR at least, so I think that's maybe something we could feel better about. But yeah, that's what's going on with Carter Young. Let's go see who's in high A right now. So one of those players is Brandon Hendricks, who is our first rounder. He's started 7 games so far, and he has an ERA of 5. So not terrific, but compared to some of the other players we've seen, he's not doing too bad. And we started him in high A. Kevin Abel's in high A as well. He's not doing very good, to be honest with you. Kevin Abel was our fourth rounder in 2021. Let's check out who's in Double A. Double A is where we really have kind of our top guys at, I would say. And one of those is Evan Carter. Evan Carter is really starting to improve in his potential ratings, and he's hit well at Double A this year. I'm starting to think that maybe Triple A could be a spot for him to check out. Just looking at his ratings relative to Triple A, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep him in Double A for the rest of the year. There's not that much left in the season, but he'll probably start in Triple A next year. He's done an excellent job, and he was the Rangers' second rounder in 2020, so not someone drafted by me. Eduardo Garcia is someone I traded for, and in Double A, he's not hitting crazy. He's a 96 OPS plus, 363 OBP. He's basically an average hitter. However, he's contributing with his defense, and overall, for someone who's 21, he's done a pretty solid job. So he'll finish out the season in Double A, and then that leaves Dalen Lyle, who just continues to be good. He and Evan Carter are kind of neck and neck, and I think Lyle's just a little bit better. He was our second rounder in 2021, and possibly the best draft pick we've made this whole series. So big fan of his. And then there's Sarantola. Sarantola's hit a bit of a rougher patch. He's allowed, 4 runs in his last 4 starts after he initially took AAA by storm. So I'm not sure if he'll be called up this year, but I think he still has a good chance to be the first draftee called up. He was our first rounder in 2022, so a year ago. So that's your prospect check-in. And I will just check back in with y'all whenever we have our next piece of news with the Major League team. We just defeated the Twins 18-1 by putting an 11 spot up in the first inning. Look at that WPA graph. And so that was a huge win for us. It puts us back over 500. A 4-hit day for Taylor Trammell. 3 hits for Nate Lowe. And we just kind of crushed him. Corbin Martin cruised, and then Tyler Johnson's been really good for us since we traded for him at the deadline, so hopefully that continues. We have him in a stopper role right now. September 1st, and that means roster expansion. I would like to get Eric Sarantola into this team. He hasn't done great as a starter in his last few appearances in AAA. However, he's someone we drafted, and I think we could just throw him in the bullpen. Let him handle kind of a long relief role, maybe not the highest leverage type of deal. And I think that would be good for him, and I think it'd be good for us to see. So we're going to do that with him, avoid high leverage. And then we can add one more player. Tochi, I think, would make a lot of sense to add. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I would prefer to add other than him. And I don't really think so. So we're going to add Tochi onto the team as well. And that's going to be how we handle roster expansion. We've reached the end of the season, and I just want to let you all know up front, I'm putting this series on pause. I said I was going to do 3 seasons. I did it. There's your 3 seasons. And, the results of the series were up and down, but I feel like we have finished on a high note. If you want a recommendation of what to watch, if you've really enjoyed this OOTP content, I have a couple. Either you could go back and watch my old series, which was with the White Sox. It's on Foolish Baseball. That one was much more natural. That one, went 5 seasons instead of 3. And it really has just kind of had an excellent conclusion. The downside to that is that it's very amateurish. It was recorded with a really cheap microphone off my laptop. I was in Germany at the time. So if you want to go kind of back into the Foolish Baseball archives as far as out of the park baseball, you could definitely check that out. If you want something more modern, I would say check out the YouTube channel PF Holden. He has just started his series. It's going to be a lot more realistic than mine. He's a great resource for the game. And in many ways, since I've stopped making out of the park baseball content, he has sort of picked up the football and ran with it. So he's doing a terrific job over there. And so, I could resume this series, sometime down the line for sure. I don't think it's over. But right now I'm putting it on pause. So let's just go ahead and get that out there. That was kind of the plan from the get-go. The thing is, I've got to make baseball bits, people. I've got to make baseball bits. I've got to do Patreon Q&As. And I did this for the love of the game. I don't make any... Well, I will make a little bit of money, but this is not a financially viable thing for me to do. And honestly, with Foolish Bailey, I don't want it to be a gaming channel. I want to do a variety of content. And OOTP has dominated for the last few weeks. So... just kind of got that spiel out there. As far as the team, we finished 84-78, and that's what I meant by finishing up on a high note. We played winning baseball. We did it. We are a winning ball club. We've turned it around. You got to keep in mind, this team had 6 consecutive losing seasons dating back, past 2016. So for the first time in the Foolish Baseball regime, and for the first time for the Rangers in just a long time, we played winning baseball, 84-78. We did not make the playoffs. We were 8 games out of a wild card spot, and we weren't ever really in the hunt for that. You got to keep in mind, I won 9 of my last 10, so even, coming down the stretch in late September, I was out of it. I was not contending for a playoff team. This team's pitching staff, 10th in ERA, is probably what held us back, because the offense did take a big step forward after having, the worst offense in the league. Last couple seasons, we really did a better job this year, scored 810 runs. That's 5 runs a game. So I would like to just kind of go through the team right now and just kind of show you how everyone did, because we did have some terrific seasons this year. Manny Machado led the team in WAR. He was a 5-WAR player, and his contract has an opt-out following this season. It'll be interesting to see if he takes it. He is 31, and he did have very limited playing time in 2021 and 2022. There's no denying that he's a very good player. If I were in his shoes, I would not opt out, but you never know. The CPU can kind of sometimes make some interesting choices on that front. Taylor Trammell, after being such a headache for us in 2021, 2022 when he didn't hit, he came back and he just put up a great hitting season. He did it. He had an average over 300. He slugged over 500. And, 139 OPS plus, 4.2 WAR. It was a pleasure. Vidal Brujan, our leadoff hitter, who we got in a trade with Tampa. Everything you could have asked for there. I just, kind of prototypical leadoff guy. Plays good defense at second base. Great player, switch hitter. Cal Raleigh was good for us. This was his first year as our starting catcher. He did miss some time. A lot of these guys did miss, some time here and there. He still put together a 3-WAR season. He hit 22 home runs in 103 games. He was awesome. Yandy Diaz, who we kind of had, in various DH, first base roles throughout the season, was one of the better players on the team for sure. I mean, look at this guy's numbers. He did not get a full, 150 games, 600 plate appearances, but boy, was he a great acquisition. Nate Lowe picked up where he left off. Didn't quite hit as well as he did last year, but we really needed him to be a power bat, and he was that. He had 33 home runs. He had 35 the year before. JP Crawford, same old with him. Shortstop defense is important. I feel like he plays pretty good shortstop defense, so I'm happy with that. Jesus Sanchez wasn't great. He does play good defense in right field, though, but he had a hot start to the season. He kind of faded down the stretch. That turned out to be one of our weaker positions, but he still did a better job than like Jesse Winker did, I think. And then, Nick Solak wasn't great this year, but in 2021, 2022, when our team was really bad and our offense was really bad, he was one of our better players for sure, and it was good to keep him around because he's an OG Texas Ranger. Another one of those is Anderson Tejeda, who's our sort of utility guy. And then as far as our pitching goes, Chris Sale had a 4.37 ERA. He has one more year left on his deal and a team option after that. I really have no regrets trading for him. I can understand that this wasn't necessarily the best year from him and that he missed, the first few months of the season, but I think he's still a solid pitcher. And then Corbin Martin was probably our best pitcher this year, through almost 200 innings, 212 strikeouts, 127 ERA plus, 11-10 on the year. He was our best pitcher this year. It was fun to watch. My favorite player from this series is Drew Strotman. Drew Strotman, who we also got in a trade with Tampa right at the beginning, the same one that brought over Vidal Brujan. This guy, we had him, go all the way through high A, double A, triple A, 2 years in the majors. I'm only sad that he missed some time this year, or else we could have seen him pitch a full season. But man, this guy's really good. His ratings continue to come up, and just an excellent pitcher all around. Does not give up the long ball. Dane Dunning, another sort of OG Texas Ranger. I know he's new to the team in real life. He just came there from Chicago, but he stuck with us for this series, and 2023 was his best season yet. Belak finished in the rotation down the stretch, and when he got back from his injury, he honestly did really well. Bullpen, Tyler Johnson, who we traded for, did great. He finished as sort of our highest leverage relief option, our equivalent to a closer. DeMarcus Evans had the best year of his career so far, in my opinion. Connor Grams, after we tried to use him as a starting pitcher, proved to be the relief ace that he truly is. And so he had an excellent year once he got into the bullpen. Rasmussen kind of slipped up, but in 2022, he was amazing. Blake Taylor was one of our better relievers throughout this series. Leclerc came back, and he walked 7/9, but because his movement is so high, he doesn't allow home runs. It was a 100 ERA plus. He was league average. Puck, I hate to say it, I think has been sort of critically maimed by his lengthy injury that he suffered, and he wasn't very good when he came back from his injury. And but you got to keep in mind, this guy 2021, 2022 was the best pitcher on the team. Have to respect that. He's been great. Sarantola was our draftee. He finished the year with the team, and so the total contributions of the players I've drafted in this series, negative 0.5 WAR. However, I think, if we get deeper into this series, that's going to turn into a pretty solid number because Sarantola is going to contribute, and I think Dalen Lyle is going to contribute big time to this team once he gets to the majors. Mitch Keller, good peripherals again, not the best ERA. If you take a look at Jack Leiter, who was our second overall pick, this guy was just having a rough time in high A, so I don't regret that trade at all. And so that's your team. We can take one last look at the prospects again. And, I think the ones most worth getting excited about, Dalen Lyle, who would start the year in AAA next year. Evan Carter, solid player too, but I think Lyle's better. And then Eduardo Garcia is a good one. He's definitely one that would have factored in and may still factor in, whenever I come back and continue this series. But yeah, I think Dalen Lyle was probably the best draft pick I made. And I would really like to return to this series just to see how he can do in the big leagues, because I think he could be a star. And honestly, with our right field being occupied by Jesus Sanchez, I mean, it's up for grabs for sure. So there you go. I'll show you the playoffs as well. The Los Angeles Angels are your World Series champions. They beat the Dodgers in 6, and they were a great team all year. 104 wins. Matt Thaiss turned into a pretty monster player for them. He's kind of like what Jared Walsh is right now. Like, that's the equivalent. Joe Adell, came up, did great in 2022 for them, and then also even better in 2023. He's back-to-back 40 homer years. He's been great. Trout, another 8-WAR year. And, Adam Hazley's been a good player for them, and their rotation they finished up with was Canning, Sandoval, Quintana, Clevenger. Aroldis Chapman was huge for them too. They signed him to a 1-year deal, and he turned in one of the finest years of his career, maybe the finest year of his career. And so that was a big difference maker for them. But yeah, that's your series. That's a wrap. But you got to keep in mind, I will be back with this. I just don't know when. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the OOTP content. It was a pleasure to make it, but I'm on to bigger and better things.